Hello, and welcome to the Underpaid Gamers Podcast. My name is Tony. I'll be your host today. We are the official podcast of underpaidgamers.com. This should be the official last newscast, as Justin will be back in a couple weeks, or in a week. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about Avengers. We're going to talk about Dota 2. We're going to talk about the Nintendo NX, and No Man's Sky. So, theme song, and then the show. Alright, welcome back. Thanks for listening. If you want to get in contact with us, we can do that first. You can contact us at underpaidgamerspodcast@gmail.com. Tweet at us at upgamerspodcast. You can comment on our SoundCloud or YouTube videos, both Underpaid Gamers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, leave us a review on iTunes if you would. That really helps us out. Okay, so first thing on the docket is the Nintendo NX has been revealed to be a handheld with TV connectivity, which is super weird because it's supposed to be the new console, the best console on the market, is what they're preaching about. But now you find out it's a handheld. What I understand it to be is that it's a handheld similarly to the gamepad from the Wii U. It has a HDMI connectivity, so you hook it right up to your TV, so you can take it with you if you want to play. But when you get home, you can put it on the big TV. That just sounds like Nintendo's really good at doing handhelds, but that just sounds weird. That's not at all what I expected, or what I think other people expected. So we'll see what happens. I think it all depends on when they release this console, this handheld, and how well it sells. If they try to release it at the same time that the Xbox Scorpio is released, or the PS4K, anything like that, I think it'll get drowned. But if they release it at a specific time, you obviously don't want to release this in the spring when nobody's buying consoles, but it's going to be hard to release it in the holiday seasons in November as well, just because there's just so much competition. So I don't really know what Nintendo's doing anymore. If this doesn't work for them and they don't make a profit, it has been said that maybe they should get out of the console game. Maybe they should port their games to other systems, and people might take offense to that. They might say, no, Nintendo is Nintendo. They should do their own thing. But if I had the opportunity to play Metroid or Legend of Zelda or Smash Brothers on my PS4 or on an Xbox, I would take that opportunity 100%. So it'll be interesting to see. Nintendo makes really good handhelds. The 3DS, I think, is a very good handheld. The problem I have with the 3DS is that the games, the 3D part of the 3DS, now that works really well, and I think it's cool, but it's not the main feature that people use. And some games, you can tell when you're playing them, is only for the 3D aspect, and you're just I don't really like that. But we'll see what happens. I don't think as far as I know, they haven't shown what the NX looks like, so maybe it'll be super cool. But that's my thoughts on the NX. There has been a VR spectator mode specifically for Dota 2. So Dota 2 has released images and gameplay from a new VR spectator mode, allowing the user to see a 360-degree field of view over the battle zone whenever and wherever they choose. So essentially, you're like the eye in the sky, right? You can watch, you don't have to, if you're in this VR mode, you don't have to watch what the person running the channel, if you're watching the stream and you're plugged into this, I'd assume you don't have to watch what the person running the channel is watching. So instead of having fixed camera angles and stuff like that, you now have the VR 360 degree, so you can see whatever you want whenever you want. I think this is a really awesome idea, not just for Dota 2, but almost for anything spectator-wise. And then if you combine this with the announcement I made that I found out about last week, was that the NFL Network will now be on PS4. If you use the PSVR while you're watching the NFL Network on your PS4, if somehow down the road they can combine those two, it'll almost be like you're at the game, which is super cool. It'll just be you'll be even more at the game than you would be if you're just watching on a big screen TV in your living room. So again, you'll be able to look around, see whatever you want. I assume there would be a zoom functionality on this VR, so you can zoom into the field, do whatever you want. So I think this is a step to the future of what we're going to see in the future. So this is something that I never thought of before I saw Dota 2 using it, but I'm so excited to see, I think VR will be the future of gaming. I think they'll still have consoles and stuff like that, but it'll be an additional accessory. very similar to how handhelds are an additional accessory to home consoles. But I think if you can combine this VR spectator mode with other things, it'll be super cool. So I'm super excited to see where this goes. There has been some news on Avengers Infinity War. Originally scheduled for a 2-part movie, Avengers Infinity War has been reduced to a 1-movie deal, with the other slot in the MCU schedule temporarily being called Untitled Avengers Film. Whether this is because of actor contracts, it's hard to say at this time. I wouldn't be worried because they're still getting 2 Avengers movies, and it has outright been said that the second slot will not, and it hasn't outright been said that the second slot will not be a continuation of the Infinity Wars films. This has also happened with the Justice League, which was scheduled to be a 2-part movie, but has recently been reduced to 1 film, and Zack Snyder's not going to be directing the second one. This Infinity War title change was hinted way back in May by the Russo brothers, who are the directors. While the names of the films have been changed, the release dates have not. Still coming out in 2018 and 2019 respectively, these films will have to be shot back to back. This is further confirmed by an interview with the writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who say that they're writing both films in tandem. So, just to reiterate, the first Avengers film of the 2-part series is still going to be called Avengers Infinity War, but that doesn't mean that the second movie in 2019, you won't still be battling Thanos, and you still won't have the Avengers. And there's been talk about this before, that maybe Robert Downey Jr., who is probably the most outspoken about not being in these films, just because his contract has expired 3 different times. Now, he always comes back because he's always making a cuss ton of money. But it's just maybe he doesn't want to be in the second Avengers film. So I still think it'll be called an Avengers film, but it might be the new Avengers. So maybe the first one's called Avengers Infinity War, and the second one's called the New Avengers, where they have all these new people. And they might have the new Iron Man that we talked about not that long ago, there's the girl that plays in Game of Thrones. I can't remember her name. She is Emilia Clarke's translator. So Khaleesi's translator. Can't remember what her name is. But she has expressed a slight interest in being the new Iron Man, which fits because the new Iron Man looks just like her on the comics. And what I mean by that is specifically they have really big hair, and I've always wondered how the new Iron Man is going to get that all that hair into the new helmet. But I don't know. So maybe the first Avengers movie in 2018 will be called Avengers Infinity War, and maybe the second one will be called The New Avengers, and that will kick off a whole new branch of movies we can have. But like I said, I'm not worried about this at all. They're still writing them in tandem, so we'll see what happens. For some No Man's Sky news, there's a guy that buys a leaked copy of No Man's Sky on eBay for over $1,000, which I believe was $1,200, so $1,200. He was originally streaming and uploading videos, but was asked by the producer Sean Murray to let people experience it for themselves. After spending 25 to 30 hours on the game, the player has made it to the center of the universe, which is the ultimate goal in No Man's Sky. On his way, he noticed that there's a way for players to exploit certain resources to make that trip to the center of the universe much faster. He expects that, without an update, players will be able to reach the end goal in about 12 hours. No Man's Sky has been boasting about the endless exploration of a quintillion planet system, so it seems hardly likely that finishing the game in 12 hours was what was expected from Hello Games. So, all my opinions aside of how I think No Man's Sky is going to go, I don't think that this publicity is something that they wanted to see before the game was released a couple weeks in advance. So this guy was posting up videos, and he essentially said, okay, these are really cool, I got the game early, I no longer want to do this because I don't want to spoil the fun for other people. And he is saying he's having fun. He's played 30 hours of the game pretty early, so I don't know, he's having fun, and he's saying people should still buy it, but he also says that you can get to the end game within 12 hours, which doesn't really match with what No Man's Sky is supposed to be. However, he is not competing with other players in the universe, so it's just him and the other naturally occurring things. So I don't necessarily know what to think about that, because I assume that once other players are in the game, you'll have different means, it'll take longer or shorter time to get to the center. But at the same time, they've gone on Hello Games, and Sean Murray has gone on record to say that it's a multiplayer game, but you could play the game for a whole life cycle and never see another player in the world. So maybe this 12-hour farm exploit is possible even with other players. But the guy that bought the game and is playing has said that he wanted to show this to Sean Murray and Hello Games and say, look, you might want to patch this. I want to bring this to your attention because I found a way to do that. So maybe it'll be patched by the time No Man's Sky is out. No Man's Sky has been battling 2 different legal battles, I guess. The first one was about their name, about some British companies, like, you can't use the word sky in your name, which is stupid, but they settled that outside of court. Now, the most recent one is that there's another company that's blaming Hello Games for stealing their formula for creating an endless galaxy in a video game. I believe Sean Murray and the producers have gone on record to say that we didn't steal anything from you. So they're still settling that. Some people think that will have a larger effect on the sales of No Man's Sky. I literally don't think it's going to affect anything at all. Because as someone that does the news, and as someone that's slightly interested in where No Man's Sky goes, I didn't care about this news at all. Like, they're still putting out the game. It's just a legal battle that they'll have to do. But as soon as the game comes out, they're going to have millions and millions of dollars just based on pre-orders and things like that. So on the first day, they might get all their money back, which is what huge games have been doing recently. So like Grand Theft Auto 5 made all their money back and more in the first day it was released. Almost essentially every Call of Duty that's come out in the last 6 years have done that. So it's crazy. As soon as that comes out, we'll see how it sells and we'll see how it does. Now for my opinion on the game, I don't think it will do that well. Hello Games is ran by 12 people, and they're trying to make such a huge game for everyone that has a PS4, which is millions and millions of people. I just don't think they have enough people on hand to make a game that big. I don't think the servers are going to be able to handle it, and I think if the servers are down for the first week, it's going to turn a lot of people away. I think No Man's Sky is going to be a game that gets returned a lot. You'll see a lot of these on the shelves at GameStop and Game Exchange and any used game store. I think after a couple weeks, you'll see a lot of these used copies. So that's my prediction. We'll see what happens. Let's move on to something else. So there's some Pokemon news, both Pokemon Go and Pokemon Sun and Moon. So first, Pokemon Sun and Moon. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company released a Japanese trailer for upcoming Pokemon game, including all new Pokemon and variations of existing Pokemon, including an Ice-type Vulpix and Ninetales, a taller, thinner Exeggutor, and an Ice-Steel version of Sandshrew and Sandslash. The Ice version of Sandslash, I think, looks like Vegeta. They also released a Donald Trump-looking Pokemon, a cheerleading bird, and a donkey, which I'm assuming will be voiced by Eddie Murphy. You can now ride Sharpedo like a jet ski, so that's cool, I guess. So yeah, they showed this. The trailer is all in Japanese, so I couldn't read anything. It's been translated since then. Man, there is literally a donkey Pokemon, and it evolves into a horse Pokemon, and it's a ground type. And it shows in the trailer of you being able to ride a whole bunch of other Pokemon. So it shows a jet ski Sharpedo. It shows it shows that you're on a Lapras, but it was weird because on the Lapras you had an armchair, so that's weird. You rode the thing that the donkey evolves into. You rode that. You could ride that over sharp terrain. The new Exeggutor is super weird. It's super thin, and it just looks really weird. It took a new approach to it, and I don't understand why. I thought the original Exeggutor looked cool. I mean, I've been growing up with that for 20 years, so why wouldn't I think that looked cool? There's a new Ice and Steel version of Sandshrew and Sandslash, so that's interesting, I guess. And then the Vulpix is Ice type, and then the Ninetales is Ice Fairy. There's a new that cheerleading bird I talked about has 4 different forms. The Alola region, which is the new Pokemon game, is a Hawaii Pacific Island thing. So there's gonna be volcanoes and forests, and then obviously an ice location, just based on the fact that there's so many ice type Pokemon. So these Pokemon trailers are super weird because I watched the first half of them. I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. I want to play that game, and then by the end of the trailer, I'm like, I do not want to play that. It looks too gimmicky, and it looks too stupid. So I don't know what to think of this. Maybe once they release everything, I'll find some Pokemon that I can relate to, but as of right now, I don't really want to play this game. Although the graphics do look pretty cool, there are some cool cutscenes, but at the same time, there's some cutscenes that make me shake my head, and I'm just like, I don't want to see that in a Pokemon game. So we'll see what happens. Very interested to see where that goes as well. Now for Pokemon Go news, Niantic has made an update for Pokemon Go in hopes of fixing the 3-step glitch that has been prominent for some time now, but instead make a semi-intentional mistake of removing footsteps altogether. While they have been making updates to fix the server issues and drain less battery from mobile devices, changing the core game mechanic seems like a step in the wrong direction. They did, however, nerf Vaporeon, so I consider that a plus. Also, in their most recent update, they made it so it's more respectful of like national monuments and like businesses. So like museums are no longer Pokestops. I know that when it first came out, the Holocaust Museum was like a gym and a Pokestop, so people would run up there with their phones and like, I guess like have a really good time around the Holocaust Museum, which is not really what the Holocaust Museum is for. Things like that. So it's being more respectful. I don't think Niantic thought this was going to be as popular as it was, and I think people have been dropping off recently. I have not played it since I've encountered that 3-step glitch. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, it's just removing a core game mechanic almost altogether by removing all the steps. So we'll see what happens. But there's also been reports of like it takes like 50 million experience to get to the max level, which is almost impossible. Other than the first guy that did it used a bot, so he cheated to do it essentially. But he also deleted his account after that because he didn't want to like just destroy people. But I don't know. It's Pokemon Go. I think it's something that I might not have expressed, but I think I predicted, and I think a lot of people predicted that it's going to be a huge boom for a little bit, and now it kind of slows down. But at the same time, there's still a lot of people using it, and I still think there'll be a lot of people playing it. Obviously, more so than not. And maybe it'll pick back up once a new Pokemon game comes out. I know they're making an update to Pokemon Go to increase Pokemon from the second generation, from the Johto region. So we'll see what happens. But I have not picked it up since the glitch happened. So Game of Thrones news. While this is old news, I still get an enjoyment out of breaking people's hearts. So it has been confirmed that Season 8 will be the last season of Game of Thrones. Season 6, which just ended, was the first time that they went off book. They no longer have like the book written script in front of them. So Season 6, 7, and 8 will all be more like Hollywoodified. If you could tell that by watching. There are some things you can kind of tell just the way that they... kind of the way that the story encapsulated itself was kind of like Hollywood-esque. But I just want to throw that out there. We've talked about it before, but again, Season 8 will be the last season of Game of Thrones, so you have 2 more years to get onto the Game of Thrones train. And then finally, the Suicide Squad comes out this Friday. Justin, my co-host, my normal co-host, will be back tomorrow, is what he told me. So maybe the first episode we do back will be us reacting and talking about Suicide Squad, which I think will be fantastic. Suicide Squad is actually a movie I've been very excited for. It looks super good. Probably the movie I'm most excited for the rest of the year. So it probably goes Suicide Squad, then Doctor Strange, and then the Star Wars Rogue One movie. So we'll see what happens. I know DC hasn't made a lot of good movies in the past, but this one does look actually fantastic. So we'll talk about that when it comes up. Again, thanks for listening. This has been a somewhat short episode, but again, it should be the last episode where I'm doing it by myself. So next week or next episode, it should be another conversational podcast back with Justin. We'll have a lot to talk about. So thanks for listening. Again, you can check us out on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Twitter at UP Gamers Podcast. You can email us if you want to give us topics or things to talk about. Please email us at underpaidgamerspodcast@gmail.com. I will see you guys later. Peace.